So some people like drift on this autopilot, living the American dream, whatever that is. They don't have a definite purpose in their business because they view their business and their personal life as two separate things. And really, the business is there to serve your personal purpose. What in the world can we learn from a 139-year-old dead dude? I don't know. What do you think?
A lot.
Turns out maybe a lot. And as we said this out loud, I was thinking, man, actually, right? You have the whole, those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Mm-hmm. The best stuff we can learn is probably from dead dudes.
Right.
Like, really,
yeah, 100%.
if you look back, like history repeats itself, life happens in cycles. And yeah, we can absolutely look into the past to identify those cycles, those lessons from failures and successes we can learn from other people. And that's exactly what Napoleon Hill did. Is he interviewed people, he learned from people, their successes, their failures, and he set his life upon the task of categorizing that and communicating it to students, whether that was through books, through magazines, through public speaking. He disseminated the information that he gathered out to the masses. And still today, his work thrives. It doesn't just live on, right? It thrives out there.
I think everybody knows Think and Grow Rich, right? Like everybody's heard of that. But we're taking a little bit of a different approach. I think fewer people have heard of this one.
Which one? Outwitting the Devil?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I just shared with you the other day, one of my coaches, and that's, I guess let's pause for a second, because for people who maybe they just saw the title of this episode and they're like, what am I getting into? What is this about? I'm Mike, this is Chris, we're the Tactical Agents, we are real estate agents, and we also run a nationwide project called the 10-7 Project, founded a couple of years ago. We are on mission to help 10,000 first responders and veterans supplement or replace their income through their own real estate businesses. We do that with a complete, proven system. Instead of being traditional, cold call, salesy, etc., we're tactical. We have a relational business through a complete, proven system that we have to, I think we have like 180 some agents in our organization right now and another 100 in real estate school. We are growing, boys and girls. And if you are a first responder or a military veteran and you're already in the business, we still want to connect with you. We want to see.
Or if you ever have been one of those people, you don't have to still be current or active.
It's just that's our vibe. So we figure like that's our people. So we're just going to speak to our people. So that's what we're doing. If you want to know more, visit 10-7project.com, 7project.com. Whether you're already licensed or whether you're interested in maybe getting licensed or whatever you want to do, let's connect and we'll give you some good next steps. So that's who we are. And we run this podcast to sort of like preach the gospel of the tactical way. And I shared this with you the other day because I had never heard about, I think I had heard about this book, but I never read it. And one of my coaches was like, it's like that conversation with the devil in Napoleon Hill's book. And I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, haven't you read Outwitting the Devil? And I was like, no. And he's like, get it right now. Get the audio version though, because the premise of the book is that Napoleon Hill interviews the devil and kind of like leverages the character of the devil to bring up how people are held back in life from their purpose or their intentions, and how you can like defeat him or whatever. So I don't espouse Napoleon Hill's overall religious views. That's not what this is about or anything. These are about identifying certain sort of like universal principles that are observable phenomena in the universe to me. Like, just like gravity is an undeniable reality, I think there are certain undeniable realities when it comes to humanity, how we interact with one another, how we produce things, how we grow and thrive from a business perspective. I think there are principles to follow, which is what this is all about. But damn, we've been going for 5 minutes and we're not even talking about it yet. So what can a 139-year-old dead man teach us? So what we're going to be doing, and we're not going to mention this every episode moving forward, that this is all coming essentially from Napoleon Hill, but it is we're going to talk about, he essentially boils everything down. When you take his major works, it boils down to 17 principles of personal success that he breaks down, and then 30 fears, or the 30 greatest cause of failure. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to just pick and choose. We're not maybe going to necessarily use all the same words, but the concepts that he puts in there, we're going to try to bring it into the now and just communicate from our perspective and experience as it relates to business, but specifically the real estate business, and how we think that these things can help propel you forward. And the age of Napoleon Hill would have been 139 right now. He would turn 140 this October. So we're all going to learn from a dead man and
yes,
make the most of it, I think. So the first thing that he lists when it comes to these 17 principles is what he calls a definiteness of purpose. We call it finding your why. And you can go back to our past episodes where we talk about that. And in reality, we're just going to keep circling back through the same stuff topically, just hitting it from different angles and different perspectives. But he says that for everything you do in life, you need a purpose. It doesn't matter if it's personal, if it's business related. That's the first step in your quest. So a definiteness of purpose, getting really clear on why you're doing something and what you're actually trying to do, right? What are your initial thoughts about that, Chris?
Well, I think beyond anything else, especially for people that have been doing this a minute, that definite of purpose, that understanding your why, is going to be the shield that you carry against burnout, against apathy, against just most of the negative things that come in anything. Because if you understand why you're doing something, and the reason why you're doing it ties into who you are as a person, then you can endure almost anything. And let's be honest, what you have to endure as a real estate agent is really not that bad as far as the tough parts go.
Right. Oh man, that was dead silence. I was sipping a coffee and you finished talking. It was like,
it was great time.
Awkward dead air. That could be the intro. Just this awkward dead air. I could just put that there.
Right.
Yeah, I think putting it in perspective, having a definite purpose in what you're doing. And I feel like people struggle to identify that. Mm-hmm. I think they struggle to identify what they really want. I think sometimes that's because there's probably a number of reasons. Off the top of my head, I would say reason number one is they've never thought about it. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably most people. I think most people are on autopilot, and there's some things that they enjoy, right? They kind of like, it's not like they're trapped endlessly in their life and they hate it. Most people generally are going to lean into stuff that makes them feel comfortable, not uncomfortable. So they're probably gonna like have a basic enjoyment to their life, but the things that they're doing or the things that they think that they would want that they don't have, it's just on autopilot. They want what the TV says they want. I should want a different car, and I should want a different house, and I should want a certain amount of money in my bank account. And like, these are the things that people think about. And I think a lot of people are like, well, I want to make more money, so like that's why I'm doing this. Mm-hmm. But but they never stop to ask themselves, okay, you want more money. You say that that's what your goal is, but why? Why do you want more money? And that's where you have to start kind of like peeling the layers back, because most people are in autopilot mode. They don't even, they've never really asked themselves why they want something.
And what that reminds me of, do you remember that movie from, man, it was probably around the early 2000s, Click, with Adam Sandler, where he had the remote and he could fast forward through his life so he could skip all the parts that were boring?
Oh, it's interesting. I do remember the movie. I've never seen it though.
Yeah, I saw it like once, but it just kind of reminds me of that. Like you just kind of click through, and people just don't really understand what it is they're missing when they're not really paying attention and just kind of coasting through life. And how much more, if you really understand yourself and your own motivations and what drives you, how much more you can enjoy life and find purpose and actually seek out the things that fulfill you because you know what they are. And I think that's very, very important for personal happiness in addition to success,
Yeah. A lot of people love the work involved in their business or their real estate business. And so it's like the results, be it money or notoriety or whatever, would come as a result of doing the things. They actually love doing the things. And that's kind of like part of the secret about this, is learning to love what it is that you're like, breaking down what you're actually accomplishing. At the end of the day, strip away, you're helping someone get out of one house and into another. There's something beneath that really drives you, that you really are drawn to, and you're really enjoying the activity of. And that, I think, is like the beginning of finding out some of those things. But so some people like drift on this autopilot, living the American dream, whatever that is. And I think that people also, they don't have a definite purpose in their business, because they view their business and their personal life as two separate things. And really, the business is there to serve your personal purpose. There's a proverb, like, a house divided against itself cannot stand. I think so many people have a personal purpose and then a business purpose. And you can't live that way.
Yeah, and I think that's super prevalent in the first responder community, because they are taught so early on in their career that they have to separate their work life and their home life. And it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, you cannot do that. And,
yeah, it's not good. It's not healthy.
Right. Yeah. And I bought into that hook, line, and sinker too when I was early on in my law enforcement career, but you can't. So you need to find how these things intertwine, and how to, it's not really balance. I don't like the term balance, but the dance between personal and professional, and how they, mingle together. And how it all relates to what you want. And when we talked, we have the advanced coaching, and when I really drill down on people about their why, and I really push them on it, it always starts out, well, I just want to live for my kids, and like, that's a super noble thing, but it's not true. Like, it can't be true. Like, do you want to give your kids a better life? Yes. Do you want to, be in their lives and spend more time with them? Yes. But why? What about that drives you? What about being a good father or a great mom? What about that fulfills you? You have to dig deeper than just what everybody's going to say for their Instagram profile,
Yeah, I agree. You gotta dig for that clear sense of purpose. Now, I would say you don't get stuck there. It's super, super important. But I've seen a lot of people, especially when we go into like our advanced coaching. So like with the 10-7 project, we provide a complete proven system to everybody. We kind of give them the template. We give them the steps, but we can't take them for them. And when people go to advanced coaching with us, that's like, we're more like babysitting them and like really like trying to like, we get out crayons and draw, like what, this is what we mean. Like we try to go into more detail. But I see one weakness is a lot of people get stuck here because they feel like paralyzed by not having a definiteness of purpose, by not having it clearly laid out. But I think that you just need to get moving in a direction, like find what can be clearly stated and get as deep as you can on it, and then start moving.
Right.
And then realize, because I've been that way too, where like, I'm like, okay, here's my purpose. And I start living toward that. Here's my mission. And then, well, what happens when you feel like maybe that's not my mission? Or maybe I'm in a different place in life than I was 3 years ago when I said that before. So now how do I readjust this? So there's always course corrections to be made. There's always re-clarifying. There's always getting rid of things that no longer serve you. And if you're growing, you're always going to end up shedding some things that don't serve you anymore, because you're growing. You are literally a changing person, and that doesn't mean that you leave behind your principles. It's the opposite. When you're principle based, you can make all kinds of changes without losing your bearings, without losing the core of what matters to you most, right? And so that definiteness of purpose has to be clearly understood. But I do think that's kind of a process. I don't think that you sit down and think, I cannot do anything, or I should not take any action until this statement of purpose is perfect. No. It just needs to be something that is you can get a handle of and leverage to move forward to the next spot and continue to circle back to, continue to develop it, continue to evolve it.
Yeah, it's so easy to fall into a trap where, especially, I keep coming back to the first responder thing, but it's who our audience is, right? But
yeah,
we get so mission focused. We have a job to do, and if somebody tells you that job is to find your why, well, then that's the mission at hand. I have to accomplish that mission. Well, you have to understand about such deep introspection about who you are as a person is it's not something you can do in 2 hours. It's not something you can do in 2 weeks. It's not something you can do in 2 years. It is a long process to really understand who you are, and it changes over time. What you mentioned earlier, your fundamental, principles, right? Those principles don't usually change, but your understanding of how those principles interact with your life and how you can, better align with those principles changes a lot over the years. That's I just turned 40 this year, and it's like what I believe as a person probably hasn't changed since my early 20s, but everything about me has changed since my early 20s. It's a weird concept.
Yep. Yeah, so definiteness of purpose, clarity is super helpful. Like why, but at the end of the day, that's the question of why am I doing what I'm doing, right? And I would break this down, and we probably don't have time to go into this, but I would say that this is mission, vision, and values. To give it some modern parlance here, your mission is, what are you trying to accomplish? Like what is it that you're trying to do? Your vision is, what does it look like? What would my life look like in all the sort of like key areas of life if I live this mission out? If I'm accomplishing this, what does my life look like? And then the values are, what do I need to protect in my life and business that would slow me down from this, that would hinder me from this, right? So that's where like you may value integrity. Like I got to maintain my integrity. You may say like, well, I need to maintain a certain level of fitness because I can't live this out unless I take care of myself. So now you have a personal value of health and fitness, right? Now you can start saying like, I need to protect these things, right? I can't serve my family if I don't spend time with them. So time with family may be a value that you hold that protects that mission and vision. And that's where you can't have like, I've got business values and I've got personal values and I keep those separate. That doesn't make any sense. Like, and I think that's a fool's errand. I think that's where you end up with people who, gain the whole world but lose their soul, right? Like they build a successful business, but they lost themselves and their family in the process. That's the result of business goals that ignore the personal reality. And then you gotta also understand that if you have personal goals, the business needs to fit that, right? It can't be. It helps you understand where to fit the business into your life, and it helps you decide what business to fit into your life,
right?
Right? Like if you have a massive value and vision for your family that involves a tremendous amount of time with them, well, are you going to take a job that takes you away from home for 2 years? Like you have to decide where that mixes, but you got to see them as a cohesive unit, not as something that's fragmented. And I think you hit the nail on the head too, especially with our key audience, right? Mm-hmm. Veterans and first responders and people in that sort of like public safety world, they are taught, nope, keep them separate, compartmentalize all this stuff. I don't think that's not healthy. It won't help you in your business. You have to integrate. And so what is that for you? When you say, well, what do I want to accomplish? Then start asking yourself, is that really clear? Is it really clear what you want to accomplish? And why do you want to accomplish it? I think that makes a huge difference. And sit in that question for a while and come up with it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but at least get a working idea, and it sets you off in the right direction, and you'll always be able to make course corrections. But like, pick your North Star, I guess, to keep you moving.
Yeah.
All right. That's it. That's it for this episode. I think we tried to cram it in. We got it in. That's what she said. And
you beat me to it. Dang it.
And guys, if you enjoy these episodes, if they're helpful to you, please subscribe. If you're seeing this on YouTube, subscribe, like the video, comment on the video, comment on this video on YouTube. If this is where you watched it, what stood out to you most? I want to make this kind of like a habit on YouTube for if you watch the show on YouTube, just get in the habit of commenting after the episode. This was sort of like my aha moment, the thing that really like, yep, I needed to hear that. Share that in the comments. We'd appreciate that. That helps the algorithm. And then if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, hit the plus button or the follow button, the subscribe, and drop a rating, drop a review. That's always appreciated, and it's helpful to us. So if we've added value, return the favor. We appreciate it. And you can check more about us at 107project.com.